All right, well, it's not on yet. Hang on. Okay, everyone on the phone can hear, all two of you?
Yes.
Yes, I've got you.
Okay.
Let's call this workshop to order so we can adjourn it, huh? You ready?
Yeah, my backup to my backup to my backup. Go.
Okay, call City Council public hearing, December 18th, 6:45 PM to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Allison,
Here?
Tom Baylor,
Here.
Kathy Sherman is absent, Casey Kinsman,
Here.
Wendy Rainey. Here. Dave Zastro,
Here.
Kristen Smith. Here. Ken Jones.
Here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our public hearing tonight is on substitute ordinance 1224, which is selling commonly known as the impound lot to Bayside Storage, Ballin and Kelly. There are zero gentlemen out there in the audience,
The L's not.
so we will recess the public hearing until 5 minutes to 7.
I just got on there.
Where did it come from? Is it?
What do you?
Or from here? It's not that. I think that doesn't work.
But it should be that, but Al is not even an option on here.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That camera?
The only thing they're seeing on.
I can see you when you're right in front of the camera, but when you're go
Yeah,
away.
hi.
You guys look beautiful.
Thanks. I don't believe you. It's fine.
The Al is definitely.
Well, I almost wanna, yeah, do that.
Well,
kind of
now
thing,
we're
but
not.
I'm a-
Now we know what?
Oh, you just watched the camera.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
Oh,
Now you're aiming it right at the mayor and,
You can make you seasick.
But it's only coming through.
yeah, it's not even, this is not working. Just gonna try and restart it and see if that helps.
give it a woo, woo. Come on. Oh, she's blinking at me.
Mhm. Liked you.
I don't know. Not yet. Meanwhile, what do I do? Why isn't she talking?
No. Yeah.
Maybe one of those underneath. Played with those just a second ago.
Yeah.
Did you hear it?
I did hear it. Okay. I think this connection's loose. Oh, and then I turned it.
Keep your mitts off that.
I know, right? Okay. Come back to us. Here's Kevin.
Swallows. Gonna fiddle with the owl and try to figure it out? No, goodbye. I'm watching. He never wants to hear from me, ever.
No. Yeah.
What is supposed to be getting the video is the around, right? Because it
Yeah.
gets different people. Oh, is it the top?
Which one I can? The connection right there.
And is that plugged into this?
It's just wiggly.
It's not like I can get that.
Is this always the hub that we use?
I think so. You could try it in right into the computer or into a different, yeah, jack. Probably. Can it go straight into the computer? It's the power.
Do you have another power page?
There's. Oh, I have a power.
Yep, we're good. I hope. Okay, fingers crossed. Haha, we have. Good. Maybe.
Yes, yeah. I'll do it.
Yeah. There we go. Can you still hear us though?
Yes.
I might need you to do the same thing you did about the audio.
Me?
Yeah. I don't know. You did something at the beginning. That goes through the app.
Yeah, I think Sam had just something.
Can you guys hear us now?
I can hear you.
Yes, I'm good.
Did you know which piece of equipment wasn't working?
Yes, the hub, the out plugged into the hub was not getting through to the computer, so we just went straight to the computer.
So we can end up with the same.
Well,
Next day.
it doesn't have, it's just. Yeah.
I'm gonna pour it on that out. It's kind
Sure,
of
I remember.
wiggly and all.
Yeah, you know people at the public hearing.
Yeah, well,
Let
let's
us
call it
figure that
back to order and
Oh,
adjourn. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, we are back in our public hearing on substitute ordinance 1224, sale agreement with Cullen and Kelly, GBA Bayside Storage for the property commonly known as the impound lot. There are still no audience here, so there being no public comment, we will adjourn the public hearing. I don't know.
Remember that.
We might need one today.
Like the board fish or.
See, when you need it, then you don't have to get out of the foyer. Oh, no. There's a strategy there, you know,
It's controversial to get people.
Yes.
You know,
Touch anything. What do you need? Nothing.
Water,
Okay, no.
water over there,
I
there's
need
coffee,
nothing. Nothing.
anybody want half and half? Powdered. There's no moose milk.
Oh. I got the wrong meeting then.
We had June's retirement
Oh,
earlier today.
Oh,
Yeah,
doggone it.
It was
There
really
cake.
nice.
Rich sent me a little thing for him. Okay, can I bring it down? When's his last day, Friday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, well, then you might see him. Oh, okay.
Okay. Friday, they said was his last day.
And Mimi,
Kristen and Dave were around, so they walked in and
Okay,
saw him.
good. Mimi, Rich and Weston and I put something together.
Nice, Kevin said such nice things.
All his little, thank you, ma'am. That's to us.
And I said, what's gonna happen to our plants?
Yeah.
He said, once a week, man. Once a week.
Yeah, I'll bring something.
Well, you can help us out. You can do bathrooms for us.
Yeah. Yeah, like I do at home.
Did hear today that there's discussion about him staying on a couple of weeks. Get us through till maybe somebody starts.
Really? Good. I know they had some interviews.
Rich was reminiscing about the day he hired him.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Hold that flag a little bit so it's not hitting the someone. Stuff in it. Thank you, thank you.
YouTube and everything.
We haven't heard any different.
Good.
Yeah.
Are we ready? We'll call the regular city council meeting for December 18th, 2024, 7 p.m. to order. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Your roll call, please.
Mayor Allison,
Here.
Tom Baylor.
Sorry, couldn't get off mute here.
Kathy Sherman. Here. Casey Kinsman.
Here.
Wendy Rainey. Here. Dave Zastro.
Here.
Kristen Smith. Here. Fabulous.
Here.
Is everyone?
Okay. Any objection to the regular agenda? Hearing none, then the agenda will be approved. Disclosures of conflicts of interest and ex parte communications.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we'll declare that for agenda item 7, resolution 122440.
Okay, objection to that? Okay, when we get to the agenda, approval of consent agenda, somebody can pull number 7 out. Move it. Anything else? Hearing none, then communications by visitors and visitors, we have no guest speakers, so audience comments regarding agenda items. Come up, state your name, address.
David Gleason, 609 Cedar Street. I just came to comment on the disaster relief money that you guys received. And I did read some of the stuff that Councilman Jones was saying, and although I agree that the 3-stage dock is probably could use a facelift, it's still operational. And we do have the drag down dock that's really nice and use if you don't like the 3-stage. So I think that money should go into the permanent fund. We've talked for years about putting money in the permanent fund, but we don't ever seem to do it. And that's like a gift right now. And I did look through the budget a little bit, and I think you're gonna be short on raw fish tax. And definitely short on sales and use tax. That was like 4.7 million or something. I think we normally make about 3.5. So that money will come in handy down the road. I would save it for that time, and we can fix the 3-stage dock when we can afford it. That's common.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Hi, Stephen Richards, 103 Bluff Trail. I wanted to address ordinance 1221 from the November council meeting regarding the exemption language in the ordinance and the city's ability to tax aviation operations at state-owned airports in Cordova. In short, the city has no authority to tax aviation operations at the municipal or mudbowl airports, violation of federal regulations 49 CFR statute 40116. The city does not own the airports, are state-owned, and operations and improvements are subsidized by federal grants through the federal AIP program. With those federal funds come stipulations that control how revenues may be generated and where they can be spent. If the state assessed a fee, such as a landing fee, that fee would have to apply to all aircraft, military, medevac, airline, general aviation. And those monies can only be allocated towards airport operations and improvements, not in the state's general operating fund. In other words, the state can't make money off the federal taxpayer funded national transportation system for its own benefit. The city couldn't do it if they were city-owned airports, which again, they're not. Forwarded the draft ordinance 1221 to the FAA, and they said if it were to become a city ordinance, they would challenge it. I've been in front of the city council twice now since September regarding taxation at the airport. And what is concerning is that the city attorney, Holly Wells, was sent an email from the FAA dated August 26th of this year, which explained the federal code and the city's limits of authority. So Ms. Wells has twice ignored or not understood the federal code while charging the city taxpayers fees to craft ordinances that run contrary to federal law that will cost us money to defend. Lastly, I feel there's a feeling in council that because there is a transportation exemption in the state in the sales tax code, which also exists in every other municipal code in the state, that the airport businesses don't contribute to the city coffers. Aviation fuel sold in the city generates between 50 and 70 cents per gallon sold, depending on whether it's wholesale or retail. It generates 20 cents per gallon in state aviation taxes, which help pay for the airport, and 40 cents per gallon in federal aviation taxes, which also pay for the airports and in part is what funds EAS grants and gives us Alaska Airlines service. Businesses and individuals at the airport also pay city property tax on state property that we lease, not own. From what I've taken from the last few council meetings, the city manager has been tasked with finding more sources of revenue. And the task needs to be having the city live within the budget that we have. I've got a copy of the email from the FAA to your attorney. You guys like it? I made copies.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Fryapple, Shoreside Petroleum, 101 Copper River Highway and 813 Woodland Drive here in Cordova. So a couple things I would like to talk on, ordinance 1221. One of the first things is I've been here since the beginning of the budget process to avoid ending up in the same place that we're in today. So I'd like to say that I try to do my part to prevent all of this, but we somehow missed it at the very, very end. One other thing in the city package with the wharfage increase, Shoreside is having their legal department look at it, determine if it's legal to charge a wharfage through an enterprise fund and then deposit that into a general fund. So essentially, it's a tax on the exempt users. Ordinance 1221 essentially removes the sales tax cap for the community of Cordova now. With the latest definition on the November 4th package, defining a single item down to a gallon of fuel, an hour of labor, the smallest chargeable portion, what we've done is we've essentially removed the sales tax cap on anything in the community of Cordova, with the exception of a single item that costs more than $5,000. So fuel, gravel, an hour of labor, a kilowatt, aviation fuel to Alaska Airlines, everything is down to a gallon, and essentially the sales tax cap is removed. So the community no longer has a sales tax cap on about 99.9% of the items that we have. When we started this, the intent was to remove bundling. And from the very, very beginning, I think that was the target. Somehow I think we missed it based upon the fact that, you know, the item went from a bundle, maybe a car rental and a hotel room, or building a boat or something like that, to a single line item of every single invoice, which is significantly not what I would have signed up for from the beginning. So one of the things this does is it makes us less competitive and less desirable for a place to do business. As people have talked already, Steve talked about the price of taxes and fuel. Currently, the city of Cordova collects, or will collect in January 1st with this new ordinance, approximately 40 cents per gallon of a gallon of diesel fuel and a gallon of unleaded, and almost double that on aviation fuel. So that's just to the city of Cordova. That doesn't include federal taxes, which is another 20 to 30 cents a gallon based upon the product. Part of the problem with that is the price of fuel is, we're not able to raise the price of fuel to be competitive in the market, just like we're not able to lower the price of fuel to be competitive in the market against a community like Valdez. So, you know, Valdez, everybody says we can't compete against Valdez. Well, we're 40 cents a gallon more expensive at the start for every gallon of fuel. And that is why we're losing business to the community of Valdez, because the fleets are going over there to buy fuel because it's 40 cents a gallon cheaper. I mean, all of us would drive across the other side of town if we had the option to save 3 cents a gallon on a gallon of fuel. What would you do for 40 cents? So, and it's an easy target because everybody needs it. Fuel prices are a posted upfront cost for businesses to do business. If a contractor in town is doing a big job, they call, they want to know the price of fuel so they can plan that into the bid process. Granite Construction, Whiteshed Road, 2nd Street, Every one of those contractors calls and gets the price of fuel prior to coming here to do business. It all is part of the cost of doing business, and it's an upfront cost. You can't change that. So we have to lower or change our ability to compete with the other entities, and make it an easier place to do business instead of a harder place to do business. So, sorry we didn't catch this before that, but, at the very, very last minute, it was changed, and the definition is really what threw a wrench into everything. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Leo Vargas, 301 Seafood Lane, Friends Seafoods and 1901 Copper River Highway. I just want to piggyback to what Mark is saying. It's real. I mean, you know, we're gonna be looking for ways of staying competitive. We can't just afford to pay more for something that we can get a lot cheaper somewhere else. And you guys gotta be very mindful of that. I mean, I'm sure you wanna make sure that businesses thrive in town. And, so I just wanna let you know that. I mean, that's, you know, I don't really have much else to say, but if the prices keep going up and down because of taxation, you know, we're just gonna have to go somewhere else to buy our items. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Agenda item?
No.
Hi, I'm John Bannon with Wilson Construction, 1020 Chase Avenue, 811 Woodland Drive residence. I just came to talk about the same ordinance that everybody's talking about here. Wilson Construction probably buys 50 to 70 gallons, or whether it's 50,000 to 70,000 gallons average per year, and a loader, a dump truck, a tractor trailer averages 7 gallons per hour. And that equals out to approximately be $2 per hour that I will have to add to my cost, whether it's crushing, whatever it is, snow removal. I keep 15 people working year round. I plow snow for most of you guys. I haul gravel for most of you guys. And let's get to the gravel. So the gravel, my computer system not set up to just do per yard of gravel. And yeah, the bookkeeping of all that is just gonna be mega haywire. But as far as gravel goes, most of my gravel is sold to my large quantities that you're looking at, you know, that would be taxed, are nonprofits, government agencies, and things like that. So when I'm taxing a yard of gravel, it's gonna be to the locals. It's all gonna be to locals. So they're all trying to do improvements on their property, which is gonna add to property values. And so they're gonna decide, well, it's gonna cost me too much for this gravel now because of the fuel, because of the tax on just the gravel. I'm not gonna do that improvement. So the value of their property doesn't go up. You're taxing that value. So, just remember that, you know, I would have been here too at a lot of these budget meetings, but I didn't think it was going at all this direction. I didn't think anybody would make a decision to do something like this. So I kind of trusted everybody to, you know, like, okay. Stay within the bounds, but now we're out there, so. Now I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening, council. My name is Eduardo Santos. I am with OBI Seafoods 313 Jim Porter Lane. I am here to talk as well about ordinance 1221. We are a fish processing company. We do a lot of salmon operations and we use fuel daily for all of our needs, from running the plant to the fishermen that go out there and get our product, right? So I feel like this could potentially strain our financial ability to continue doing business here. And I do urge you to please look at other alternatives that don't involve this specifically with the fuel, as it would really affect us. That's really all I have to say, and I do appreciate your consideration. Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Hey, everybody, Tyler Dillon with Hampton's Last Wild Seafoods, 129 Harvard Road. Same concern everybody else has in that ordinance, you know, it's just gonna push people to do business out of town. If you can buy all your product out of town that you normally purchase here to save on taxes, you're probably gonna, I suspect every business in town is probably gonna look at alternative ways to buy large quantities of things, if you're gonna be paying a lot for taxes. And the same to feel like that's gonna push fishermen towards other processors out of town, you know. People might switch to fishing for guys that process over valleys to get cheaper fuel out here. Sorry, I get nervous up here and can't talk very good, but anyway, I just wanna put that out there, you know, it might slowly start pushing people elsewhere. So.
Thank you, Derek.
Tyler, thanks.
Sharon and Joyce, Cordova Power Sports, and I live at 1001 Pike Street. So I was just kind of want to echo kind of all the same points that John Bannon made about how the sales tax cap can kind of, you're really mostly taxing people who are trying to improve their properties when you're changing from what the city's previous standard of a per invoice cap to a every line item cap. So, I don't know, just something to think about, because that's all these improvements that are being made are in theory gonna be adding to property values quite often substantially more than what the invoice total even was. So, and then the other kind of tax related thing was the way the city is gonna change the building permit aspect of it. It just seems like they've just taken something that kind of worked okay and just added another layer of complication with them having to pay all the costs up front and then getting reimbursed if they kind of have to keep track of every single little aspect of it to get the full reimbursement at that point, especially now that they're not getting the sales tax cap. They're really gonna have to put some effort into keeping track of every little bit as they construct their house or whatever they had the building permit for. So anyways, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Scott, manager of North Star Lumber, 701 First Street. My home address is 204 Boardwalk Avenue. With you guys taking the sales tax cap out, that's 7%. Everybody has to pay on everything. I won't have any more building packages sold through the lumberyard. I mean, you're looking at a $10,000 package, $700 in tax. That's a ferry ticket to Anchorage, and they're gonna go. And on the building permits, I mean, if you guys don't trust us to police that, come over and audit me. I got everything. I've been on this for 32 years with this. If you don't trust me, come audit me. I trusted you guys to do what I thought would be right. And now everything is, part I'm concerned, all screwed up. And we're gonna have to start over. You guys have wasted your time. You've wasted attorney time for something that just needed a little fix, not this.
Thank you, Don. Anybody else?
Hi, my name's Brad Sapp, we're 203 Highland Drive. I'm gonna give you a bit of personal perspective on what everybody else has been talking about here. I don't own a business, but I do commercial fish here for over 35 years. You can't buy a net right now that wouldn't put you at this cap of the tax bracket. Used to be able to, but sometimes I buy half a net or just a cork line, or just a lead line, and you're trying to piecemeal this thing all out, it's not gonna work. I don't believe it's the right way to go about it. If I do any improvements on my home, I can't fix the driveway, I get taxed there. Then I gotta move up and do some riprap work or something like that, there's another, I don't make the tax cap. Then I gotta put a new porch on the front of my house. I'm not gonna make it that, but it should be all, that's a job. Fix the road, do this, do that. That's all, in all intents and purposes, that's the job. You can't stop here, oh, tax him there, oh, he's doing that, tax him there. Oh, he's doing that, tax him again. It's a job. When I built my house originally, the tax upper bracket was $3,000, I think it was. I blew through that like it was nobody's business, but you've been charging me taxes on the improvements on my property, so isn't that enough? You know, I think the city needs to look, instead of taxing people for every little area that they think needs to happen, I think maybe you ought to look internally and try to trim some things here and there. All summer long, I saw city vehicles that were helping out with the construction down here in the harbor. And their cars were running the whole damn time. I went down and mended my net for 3 hours, came back up, the truck was still running. How much fuel do you guys go through? I got so pissed, I went and told the guy, shut the damn car off. You know, it's little things like that add up for the city, I'm sure, over the space of a year. But even, I can say this, within the last 2 weeks, one of the city police officers were down here. He was eating lunch with his wife, or I don't know if it was an officer or the chief or whatever. I don't know these people anymore. But the whole time he was in eating, his car was running. Does everybody here do that? I don't. So there's ways around this, and it just seems like so many other people in the audience here explain that it's not the way. When is the city of Cordova gonna start thinking about who actually lives here rather than what they're gonna, you know, who are we doing this for? We're all doing it for ourselves, and we're just taxing ourselves into oblivion, the way I see it, so, thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Anybody else? Last chance, last call. Everybody? Okay, seeing no further comments, we'll move along to chairperson, representatives, boards and commissions. Is there anybody here from the city wards, hospital, school? Seeing none, hearing none, we don't have we have a written student council report in. Do we know who that is yet? You have a name?
No, the advisor told me that, she's just gonna give updates of their meetings until somebody steps forward as the, rep.
Okay, any comments on that there? Okay, hearing none, then the consent calendar, let's pull item 7 and make that 13. D then, I guess, under ordinances, resolutions, first item. And the consent calendar is before you, other than that one item.
So on all that other stuff in the consent calendar. Ken Jones,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Kristen Smith,
Yes.
Dave Zastro.
Yeah.
The consent calendar is approved.
Okay, minutes were in the consent calendar, no bids or. There it is, bids or contracts. Yes,
Real quick before you go, before you leave, Steve, I'd like to get a copy of that email to Holly. I just wanna make sure we have it up here before you take off. Thanks. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Mayor's report. Board of Fish kept us all pretty busy last week. It's important that council stays involved in that. Somehow, if it hadn't been in Cordova, it wasn't good enough as it is. I mean, it wasn't necessarily good, but it would have been a lot worse had that meeting taken place in Anchorage or somewhere else. So I'm glad that we did have the meeting here. Sure you'll find out soon enough when they change some rules, but the Board of Fish did decide that Copper River fishing can't start before May 21st this year, which costs us depending on what I consider conservative numbers, about $3.5 million to the fishing fleet. It doesn't count all of the processing and everything else that it's gonna cost us, because we're gonna lose those first one, maybe 2 fishing periods for sure. There's no guarantee that it opens on the 21st. The Fish and Game themselves, I think, were okay with their current management, but the Board of Fish decided to change that to try to get more kings up the river, even though we were already giving away our inside closure for most of the season, part of the season anyway. It doesn't mean that there might not be more fishing later, but I think included in that proposition was to make sure that there was escapement before much fishing happened. And that the original proposal was, could have had us fish 1 or 2 periods and then been shut down for a month, 2 months, who knows, until that escapement got there. So, but anyway, I guess my point is that things happen at the Board of Fish that directly affect us. I appreciate, anybody who wants to learn a little bit about fishing, that's not a bad meeting to attend for all of you, but CDFU did an excellent job. They had a room upstairs for with the meeting going on on the screen so that they could discuss things and have a little bit more comfortable situation. They used this room as their break room. That whole room was tables all the way around, and then the audience was seated out in the atrium there. So it was just about exactly the right size by the time we put all the chairs in and had people up and down there. They had tons of staff there, but President Sound, RCAC, Regional Citizens Advisory Council, the fishing CDFU, the other fishermen's groups, individual fishermen, everybody gave good testimony. We had good representation. I think the compromise that Cordova made in giving up that first week of fishing in lieu of losing a lot more than that was not unseen by the board, but it was either the next item or a couple items later where the board, not unanimously, but a majority decided that they were going to allow the commissioner to liberalize the upstream quotas for both personal use and subsistence, at their own discretion based upon escapement. Well, as we all know, that once escapement is by the weir, they're no longer available to the commercial fishermen. Certainly our seasons, it's tough to liberalize them once the fish are already up the river, so. Anyway, it's important that we stay involved, important that we support the other fishermen's groups in Cordova, and I think that certainly having attended the entire board of fish, I think that we should weigh in on far more proposals than just the one that we did with the hatcheries. That did fail. They did not decrease the hatcheries by 25%, so that was good for us, but there was certainly the losing a week's worth of fishing wasn't necessarily good for our community, so. Anyway, keep that in mind as we're going through. Speaking of that, the Harbor Commission, as you know, has, we raised that to 7 members a couple years ago when we started the Harbor Project. To get more input on the harbor. We lost 2 members in November and we haven't had anybody go back in for those, so I want to see what the council's feeling is for maybe bringing forth whatever it takes, resolution or whatever it takes to reduce that back down to 5 members, or if you want to leave it at 7 and try to continue to recruit. I think they have a hard time getting quorum with the 7 people, which is why we went to 5 in the first place years ago. Was because they were never able to have meetings, and so we reduced it to 1 1/4 required and 5 members to raise it to 7. So anyway, council, want to think about that in the pending agenda. We can direct staff to bring something forward or continue trying to recruit another person. I don't have much else for my mayor's report, except to say the clerk's got some things here coming up here on the election. I will not be running for re-election for mayor. However, I will be running for a council seat. I appreciate the support the community has given me as mayor, but I prefer to have a vote and to be able to get into discussion and debate on things and not have to try to remain neutral, although sometimes I admit I'll throw in opinion once in a while, but try to do the best I can to be neutral. But for anybody thinking about running for things out there, I will not be running for mayor, but I will be running for one of the 3 council seats that's coming up, and we need some more people. Tom Baylor, I don't believe, can run again. Even if he could, I don't think he probably would, but I won't speak for Tom. But he's termed out, so his seat is open. So anyway, think about that as we're thinking. I think the clerk will tell you that sign up period is now. So we signed up to continue to support the community in our positions we have here. It's important business. It's not, pay isn't great, but it's important business that we have to, companies have to take care of for the good of the community. So anyway, any questions on that for fish or anything else? Okay, city manager's report. Sam, I think you're online, yeah?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the resolution that's under my report. The the Harbor Commission has recommended selling the, travel, well, it's not the travel lift trailer, but the trailer we use to move the same boat. So we're gonna follow through that. We'll follow through with the code, chapter 5. And that's really all I have. I'm open for questions, and Cheryl also is there for anything, and she'll be taking all the notes and making things happen while I'm gone.
Any questions for Steve? Yeah, Ken.
Yeah, I guess I have a question on, the transporter sale. Does code require that it go to an auction? Or is it something that we can market and try to get top dollar for? Cause it is in great shape still. I
We
guess,
don't-
could you clarify some of that a little bit for me?
Sure. Yeah, there's not an auction requirement. We can put a request for proposals out there. We can put a minimum bid on that, or a minimum price, sorry, not bid, on that, and then we can, choose, or we could refuse as it moves forward. So Tony and I will work on that when I get back after the first of the year. We'll get that RFP ready and get it out.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that helps clarify. I was concerned that, I've seen in the past where some of our equipment goes to one of those auctions and we just get pennies on the dollar what it's actually worth, so.
Well, even with an auction, we could put a minimum bid, minimum
Yeah.
price on it.
Yeah, I would definitely prefer to do more of the RFP approach, I think, and have it sold individually and marketed to potential entities who, would pay at least, maybe not what we paid for it for new, but recapture as much of that money as we can. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Mayor, I mean, as we close out the year, can we get our final status on the harbor? Where are we at?
Okay, so we are signing off on substantial completion. We will get that to MARAD. They need that in order to close those funds out. And we will, I believe they're still going to attach that $1 million to the current grant agreement instead of us having to do a new grant agreement, what they had said originally. So Tony might have to help me out here, but my understanding on the harbor, where we're at as far as the construction part goes, I'm gonna let him kind of wrap that part up.
So we're done with actual construction, small things. We're still waiting on the meter reading system for CEC to be able to read them remotely. Some of them are reading, but it's not 100% upwards collecting all the data. So that right now CEC's having their reading manually in the harbor. We just met with CEC last week. Actually, this week, beginning of this week, we met with them, just kind of go over things, see what they need to get done. So we're gonna put another meeting together with Turnigan, the meter, people eating meters and them, and try to figure out exactly what we need for that to get that moving right away. The cranes on the drive down, just got the 2,500 pound one, got that fixed. We had a leak on that one. It was a error somewhere in whether manufacturing or whatever, but so we ordered new parts for that. Wasn't on us. The 10,000 pound one, we have to rig that one up and get all the sensors on that one to get that one going. So we should have that one for the next couple of weeks up and running. And we did have one issue with the heat trace in the water system from the drive down. That keeps it so we don't have to leave it trickling all the time. It wasn't spec'd correctly for the right length pipe. So it froze, but we had that cold spell for a while. Ended up freezing up. Luckily it has an automatic overflow when it freezes, so it doesn't break anything. But that again, that is on Turnigan to fix that. Already talked to the water guys that did the work. They're gonna come up. You just gotta pull hoses apart and retrace it back down through. Those small things, but things that need to get done.
Thanks for the update. Thanks, sir. Yeah, while you worked on that.
I've got, I guess one question is, so if we're signing off on the substantial completion, what is the status of the asphalt repair on Nick Bluff?
That is the spring when, NV does their cut that they did. That's, Carnegie already, it's already guaranteed in the whole thing, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the fish cleaning stations, is that kind of like a internal harbor department thing to?
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. We're gonna get with Pearson, well, they built them for us. Have them come down and kind of retrofit them to that dock, so we'll have that, get on that this winter, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for Sam? Just have one request, I guess, Sam, when you and Tony do the RFP for the trailer, make sure we get a copy to the trailer manufacturer. I think we got an email that suggested maybe them, but get them a copy of the RFP and suggest that they might send that to people who are looking for a good used, brand new trailer, just so, more eyes can get on it. Okay,
I guess one more quick question
Yeah.
on the trailer.
sure.
Maybe Sam would know, with the sale of city equipment, where does that funds go? I know like with city property, it goes into the permanent fund, but is there a way to return those funds to the harbor reserve? That we
It would-
purchased this?
It would go back to the Harbor Reserve because they purchased it, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for Sam? Last chance? Okay, clerk's report.
Okay, you see, I have a notice of election, offices to be filled kind of thing, how to declare candidacy, and that did open, yesterday until February 4th. And last year we had the ballot prop to change the charter so that, council seats are now undesignated. So they'll get elected the same way as school board and hospital services board. And if you look at my little ad that's hanging up around town, it'll tell you the number of seats available. Just got a little update from Holly on that, FAA airport question that came up at public comment. I think people are confusing it with the other ordinance that council did not approve on, taxing landings of Alaska Airlines, if you recall. So possibly that's the solution to that. It's not the case. She said she has a call in with the woman from the FAA, so she'll make sure she understands that. I think I gave you a little bit of Harbor Commission data that the mayor has already mentioned about it going from 9 to 7, 7 to 5, and then back to 7. What did you decide? That we'll, at pending agenda, somebody might bring it up? If so, okay, because it would be an ordinance to change it.
Yeah, right, yeah, council just needs to give direction to staff, whether that's now or pending agenda.
Okay, you can tell me now, I guess, if you want to.
Yeah.
Good question. So it seems like a lot of times there have been some times when we had more applicants than we had seats for. So do we have some of those past applications? Would it be worth going back to some of those people?
I mean, I do look at those, I think. You know, there might be one or two that I could call.
I wonder if there just was more interest. I know the number has gone up and down, and I thought, well, maybe there was a lot of interest in increasing the number of people on the Harbor Commission because of the harbor project, and now that that's wrapped up, people are like, we're good. Maybe we only need 5. That's,
And I guess that's what I've been told, is that's why, like specifically why it went back to 7 was because of the harbor project. Now that it's complete, is there an appetite still for 7? Maybe not if we can't fill them, so maybe that's the correct move.
Yeah, Mayor, as I remember too, there were discussions with ex parte membership and, or not, ex officio memberships, and such, and we decided to raise it to 7. So, yeah, if we don't have any major construction going in the near future, it would make sense to potentially drop it in. So.
Have we heard from the harbor commission, do they want it?
Well, I think Kenny might have it here.
I mean, I can't speak for the commission, but I personally would prefer to see it go back to 5. Since we switched to 7, it has been more challenging, in my opinion, to get a quorum, and we've had a lot more canceled meetings than what I experienced prior to going to 7. So, whether that's because of the change or not, I'm not sure, but that is just my personal experience, and I would be in favor of going back to 5.
And I think maybe that's the appropriate course, is to put it out to the Harbor Commission, let them come to us officially and ask us to bring this. If that's what they want, to 5, I think it'd be good to get direction on.
If they can get a quorum.
Part of the problem is, yeah, they've got 7 members now, so they need 4 for a quorum, and they've only got really 5 members, so. If one doesn't show up, but through the manager, Tony, do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Jones, like, not like we've had any more real participation. The reason was for the harbor project. So I mean, I don't see that it's necessary, but, you know, we can run that through Harbor Commission, like I said, or what we want to do.
I would suggest that we have staff write up whatever needs to be written up, whether that's a resolution or an ordinance or whatever it is, and bring that to the Harbor Commission and the council. So that,
Well, I don't have to write anything up. When we hear from them, we'll do. I'll bring what their suggestion was.
okay, so sometimes if you don't put something in writing in front of somebody, then everybody's just wondering what the hell everybody's worried about. So I think if we have whatever it takes to change it at the council level, and if they're concerned about it, they'll let us know that they're concerned about reducing the numbers, otherwise we can reduce the numbers. That's what I would suggest.
So then, right now, then if that's the case, I'll be the first to move that we go from the Harbor Commission from 7 seats to 5 seats.
Second.
Yeah, it's just a direction to staff. They're gonna have to bring us forward.
Move to direct staff.
Yeah. Anybody object to that? Okay, anything else?
I'm a little confused. Am I bringing the ordinance to council or am I getting the opinion of Harbor
Put
Commission?
it on the council agenda,
Put it on your agenda as an ordinance for action.
whatever it takes. Yeah.
That's what it takes.
Council and Harbor can comment if they.
Yeah, I guess I would like to see that happen, but also maybe we need to, you know, after voting on this motion, make another motion to direct staff to place that ordinance on the next Harbor Commission agenda for comment or something, you know. I would like to see support from the commission before we vote on it. As a body here.
Yeah, I think that could be wrapped into that direction. I don't think we need to. Too formal, but yeah, still we have something for us. Okay, anything else from the clerk? Any questions for the clerk? Anybody signed up for anything yet?
No, I guess I'll leave the ad out as it is, and it's not gonna hurt. If we get anyone, although maybe it would hurt if we bump it to point hours. I'll let you know if I hear anything.
Okay.
Well, if we get a bunch of people who put in all of a sudden, maybe we
Well,
won't
then
approve the ordinance.
we can
Yeah,
change it, yeah.
exactly. Got it.
Okay. You good with clerk? We'll move along to ordinances and resolutions. First one we got is back to item 7, resolution 12/24/40. Resolution of the Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, supporting Alaska Airlines application to the United States Department of Transportation to continue as the essential air service provider for Cordova and other Alaska communities.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Carpenter. Or Smith, I guess, sorry. Oh, geez.
Yeah, I think we do this pretty routinely every year. We know that Alaska Airlines is an essential community partner and we certainly want that to continue, so I support this.
And who was the second?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I support this, if this ever gets pulled, I dread that day. We've lost Raven, we've lost our ferry for a good portion of the year. We've lost the first week of Yellen. I definitely don't want to lose this. So, I support it.
Anybody else have comments on it? Is this a roll call?
No.
No? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Carries unanimously.
Tom, were you a yes on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 14, substitute ordinance 1224. An ordinance of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing the city manager or their designee to enter into a purchase and sale agreement with Paul and Linda Kelly, doing business as Bayside Storage for properties described as lot 14A or 4A, Northfield Development Park, edition number 2. This is second reading. You will take 4 votes, roll call.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve or move to adopt substitute ordinance 1224.
Second. Member Jones.
I've supported this since, the initial letter of interest. I think it's long overdue. Could have been sold back in 2015, and I look forward to seeing this development come to fruition and benefit the citizens of the community.
Thank you, Councilor Zastro.
Nothing more to add to council, member Jones' statement, just ready to move it forward.
Councilmember Baylor.
I support it.
Councilmember Smith.
I support it.
Councilmember Kinsman.
I'll support it.
And Councilmember Sherman.
In support.
Councilmember Rainey.
I support it.
Okay, anybody last chance? I think everybody's done. Roll call, please.
Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Ken Jones,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Kristen Smith,
Yes.
Dave Zastro.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Resolution 122439, a resolution of the council, the city of Cordova, Alaska designated capital improvement projects.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution 122439. And as amended in our memo.
Well,
This is,
maybe just move it first.
Is there
Second.
a second? Councilmember Jones.
I move to get it on the table for discussion.
We want to hear from staff.
I want to make
Proposal. Staff, can you give us a brief view?
Sure. I just wanted to talk with staff about some of the things were on the list and did a little bit of reformatting and adding some things. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions. I feel like we have a lot of needs, and everything you put on this list, anytime you write a grant, you can reference it, meets requirements for grants, public input, public meetings. And they're all pretty big projects. So I'm open for any questions.
I just had a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I would, if it came to it, I wouldn't support spending any money on Bedarkie. That building is past its lifestyle span, and we told the public years ago we were gonna eliminate that when we built the other gym, but that's the only thing I see on there that's kind of glaring to me.
Good.
One thing I would like to see added is under the Port and Harbor, a item for three-stage dock repair or replacement. It's, something that we had the 2016 funding for, and that funding was moved to the harbor project, so the work never got done, and that work was included in the last reiteration of the North Harbor Efficiency and Safety Project, but, I'm not sure I wanna wait that long to try to get it done. So,
That amendment, to add that,
yeah,
is there a second to add the three-stage dock repair replacement? Second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Hey, Councilmember Jones, you have more to add to that? It's on the amendment to add the three-stage dock.
yeah, it's an essential piece of infrastructure for our fleet. Everybody uses it. Whether you're a sport fisherman or just a recreator who's loading up your boat to head out to your cabin, everybody uses that. And the current condition is pretty sad. And I think that we have the skills in our community to upgrade that, like we did the loading dock or the science center approach. So, see if put it on here, and whether we, pursue a tier 2 grant with the state, I don't know if it qualifies for it. Or if we use disaster funding, or if we use the money after we sell the trailer. I think it'd be a benefit to have it on this list, and then we can figure out, when and how is appropriate and to pay for it, how to pay for it and when it's appropriate to do it. So I'd like to see it added to the list.
Hey, Councilmember Baylor on the amendment?
Sorry, the mute button stuck. Yeah, well, I saw the Harbor Commission did support that at one time, and if we can get some grant money for it, that'd be great. So I'll support that.
Anybody else here to weigh in on the amendment? Seeing none, then, all those in favor of the amendment of adding the three-stage dock, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, three-stage dock is now added to that. Anything else?
Sam, is it in any order? I just wanna know if
No.
I don't think so.
no, so I can just put it under Port and Harbor.
Yeah,
Just for the public's information, in case it's not clear, this list is the list we send to the legislature and our federal delegation, so that they kind of have an idea of what the community projects are. Just because they're on this list doesn't mean they're getting done by any stretch of the imagination, so, but we need to have them on there so that in case there's some money somewhere, we might at least be considered for it. Councilmember Rainey.
Sam, the upgrade to water infrastructure, the 5 million, does that have anything to do with the, thing up the hill, the reservoir? Who said that word?
the Crater Lake siphon.
No,
that what-
the other part. Which is
Oh, meals.
meals.
It could, we're kind of waiting for that, water master plan to get done and see what they think is the best way to deal with, meals. We've had talked about maybe running a pipe straight from the water that comes in from Heaney and having a valve so you can fill the reservoir and then just use that pipe. So we're still working through that part of it.
Okay, because I know with, trying to get money for infrastructure for that, you have to list that specifically, and I just didn't see that on here, so.
Yeah, if it comes back in that water master plan that's a valid way to do something, we will probably bring it back or have it reviewed at the other next quarter and add it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
This is Dave. Hey, just curious about the last, line on land development, housing, including existing unimproved right of ways and such. With very little detail there. Is there more detail or is this just kind of a general kind of wish list under land development?
These were on the CIP from previous times, and I really didn't have a lot of, there was no information for it, and it wasn't something that was, I think it was mostly council driven, other than improving existing unimproved right of ways. And that would be used for things like trails or even developing roads, just depending for grant writing. I think
Future categories that we could develop more into items that could be potentially. And cold storage, that's. Very well, I know we talked a bit about that. All right, thanks.
Councilman Baylor?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what you said, Mayor, is, I support the three-stage dock, but that doesn't mean that would knock something else off this list. As my understanding has been explained to us before, it just happens if there's money comes available for ports and harbors, then we'd have that there. I think that's the correct way to look at that. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That's correct.
There's a typo on the
Where?
back truck underwater equipment that's missing a zero issue for that. I think that's 500,000.
Oh, well, that was my question. Sam, I think you put in the dollar amounts for informational purposes. Did you intend those to be in the resolution or not? Because that, we haven't had them in the resolution in the past.
in the past, we haven't had money amounts, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and I just remember always being asked for what do you think this is going to cost? So that's why I tried to put some dollar amounts there. Many of these come from that assessment that was done a few years ago. So I guess I think that's kind of a council.
Yes, I agree. What is
Decision.
council?
I think as long as it's, personally, I think as long as it's clear that these are estimates. November 2024 estimates, in a year could be 10 million off. Who knows?
I think we ought to take them off. I think it changes too quickly, and I think it just, we're looking at numbers that are already obsolete. So I just think it'd be better to take them off.
Yeah, if I could just add, I don't think we should have them in the resolution, because then we run into an issue potentially where if we are asking for money and they look at our CIP list and if prices have increased there, then they can say, oh, well, you're saying you only need this much for that project, and I don't think we want to get in that situation. This was more for information for you all to understand the potential costs of these projects.
Which that's appreciated. That makes it.
Yes.
So thank you for doing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I was just gonna suggest, I think I remember when we were doing CIP lists before that there's a list that's in the resolution that's very clean and structured, but then there's a list that's behind the scenes on the staff's desk that explains, okay, here's a back truck, we need $500,000 and it's this and this and this, and there's detail underneath each one of these headings for that purpose of grant writing. So I think it's very clean the way the resolution has been done over the last couple of years. The details lie on the desks of the people who make it happen.
Do you have something?
Can I have a little bit of leeway to maybe change some indents and things like that?
Right?
Yes.
I guess I do have mentioned the back truck. I thought we just bought one of those, but was that for a different department?
We did just. Oh, sorry, Kevin. I forgot you were there. I couldn't see you.
We did, this isn't expected to be needed for a few years. But that thing gets beat up. We use it a lot. It has definitely improved our efficiency on a lot of projects. We're using it instead of the backhoe to be able to excavate to fix water lines, and just that tank takes a lot of beating when we're sucking up all these rocks and things like that. So we're doing our best to take care of it, you know, like we do with all of our equipment. But we just wanna have it on the list, so if the ability comes up that maybe we could get grant money for a new one sooner, we have it ready to go. But no, the one that we have it is used. I don't remember the year of it. We didn't buy a new one, but it's still going strong. But again, it takes a lot of abuse, so.
Okay, anybody else? Anything else? Last chance?
We should probably have a motion to replace the, you know, this list into that.
Well, we've got the resolution in yours.
I know, but the resolution before you was really just the exact same one that already passed in January. I didn't insert the whole new thing.
Okay.
The intent was for you to maybe reorder or change or whatever. Kind of done that with one amendment. Why don't you just replace the list you've amended into the resolution? Just make that motion.
Is maker of the motion, the second, okay with that?
Or just say it, that's fine.
I think we do.
Okay.
Get us a copy of the finished product.
It will.
Okay, all those in favor, well, this is just voice, yeah?
Correct.
All those in favor of resolution 122439 as discussed and amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolution 122435, a resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, placing a ballot proposition before the voters at the regular election on March 4th, 2025, amending charter section 3-5 entitled Department of Finance City Treasurer Duties to remove the residency requirement as in charter section 4-2 entitled Qualifications of Officers and Employees for City Treasurer.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution 122444. Second. Oh, that's very tight. Well, 2435. Guess what we want to. 2435.
Councilman Kinsman.
This. I have marked out this one, so we discuss it, it's. Put it before the voters to. Let them decide if this is the direction we go.
Councilor Zastro?
Yeah, I think this is the place to do it, and I know we discussed the importance of having folks in our community that are working for the city, but it's been a pretty difficult position to fill, so. It's required to go to voters for this kind of change, so that's where it needs to go.
Councilmember Rainey?
I have nothing to add.
Councilor Smith?
I support it.
Councilor Sherman?
I'm in support.
Councilor Jones?
I actually do not support this. I don't like to see us allowing for remote workers in government jobs. We've already lost enough as a community. I don't want to see high-paying, high-quality jobs get shipped out of town. That's less taxes getting circulated in town. That's less people in town. There's already too many entities in this town shipping their high-paying jobs out of town, in my opinion, and so I'll be voting no. And I hope that some voters share my opinions.
Thank you, Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, I understand Councilman Jones' concerns, but I guess I support the right of the taxpayers to decide this issue, so I will support it.
Anybody else, round two? Okay, all those in favor then of resolution 122435, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Here's, thank you, resolution 122444. Resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, placing a ballot proposition before the voters at the regular election on March 4th, 2025, amending charter section 3-6 entitled Same Tax Assessor Duties to correct the error in the title, to remove requirements that place the tax assessor in a specific city department and to remove the residency requirement as in Charter Section 4-2 entitled Qualification of Officers and Employees for Tax Assessor.
To approve this resolution 1224, /44.
Member Kinsman?
This was us reviewing in regards to the treasurer position or finance director position and had a conversation that this position should have also undergone the same process and it hadn't, so. Cleaning house. Bring it up to the voters.
Councilmember Sherman?
Yeah, echo those comments. We discovered this when we were looking at the finance position, so it's, an effort to housekeep, the voters don't have to make this decision.
Councilmember Smith?
Yeah, I support it.
Councilmember Bader?
Yeah, I support it, but I also have a question. If the public didn't support this, where would that put us? I mean, would we have to try to hire somebody full time? I mean, this really needs to pass. I don't know if the public understands that. What would be the option if this failed?
We've already been doing it for 20+ years.
I know that.
So I guess we've got, I don't know, we've been breaking charter for 20+ years without having changed charter and put it out to a contract. I mean, I don't know. I guess if somebody,
A lot of messaging around the house about the need to change the charter, just.
How many assessors are there in the state? On the last.
contract assessors, I think there are 2.
Well, my point is, I think maybe that's the message that we need to get out to the public, that we really don't have a choice in this. It's just cleaning up paperwork and it's the way we've been doing business. So they don't read anything nefarious into this situation.
Yeah. Councilmember Rainey?
I'm in support.
Councilmember Zastro?
I'm in support.
Councilmember Jones?
I'll reference my comments for the previous resolution. I will not be supporting this. And if we've been breaking charter for 20 years, then this isn't housekeeping. This is covering our butts. So I don't agree with that. I think we should follow our charter.
We can't.
Okay, anybody else?
No, that's not good.
Okay, all those in favor of resolution 12/24/44? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Down to unfinished business. We have non-new miscellaneous business. Council discussion of substitute ordinance 1221 adopted on November 6, 2024. I asked for this to be put on the agenda because after analyzing some things, I did not feel that council had a good feel of the implications of some of the things such as fuel, that I just wanted to be sure the council understood what the ramifications were of that and have a chance to maybe make some clarifications or some changes if they don't like that, so.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Rainey.
Yeah, I, own a fishing lodge. So I am here to say I am not a knowledgeable person when it comes to reading all the crap that comes across from the lawyer on these things. And I will say, I missed this in the definitions. This was not the intent that I felt, or I think council felt, moving forward with doing the tax changes. I'd like to see this not implemented January 1st and come back for a work session and involve some more communication with us and with the public, because I think we're doing more damage than good with this, because I don't think we all necessarily looked at all of those definitions as closely as we should have.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my biggest concern was when I start thinking about the fishing industry, which is, you know, who else buys more than a couple thousand gallons of fuel at a time? There's a few other people, but, if a tender needs to buy 20,000 gallons of fuel, that's gonna raise some $7,000 in taxes for them between our 6 cents and our 7% sales tax on there. If the cap is never hit, they're gonna pay over $7,000. Well, I used to work for a processor for 30 years and I might be wrong, but if there's another option, you know, their tender needs some fuel and they're out in the sound and they're picking up a load of fish. And they say, let's send that load to Kodiak or Seward or where we might have another plant and deliver those fish over there and pick up some fuel and get back out on the grounds and get some more fish. Well, not only are we losing that tax, but we're losing the raw fish tax for that fish, we're losing the processing of those fish, and it just, you know, it goes on down the line, and we need to be careful that we're not running more business out of town than we need to. Anyway, those were my thoughts, and I feel the same way Wendy does, that I don't believe this should be implemented right away, but it needs to be thought about a little bit more in depth. I know that we kept asking the attorney for example sheets and samples and then we ended up getting a final product and that, like when he says, that was thrown before you and you know, wasn't a small ordinance and it had some minor definitions in there that can shake things up. So anyway, that's my thoughts too. Anybody else have any thoughts on it? Yeah, Councilmember Jones?
Yeah, I apologize that for a good portion of this process, I was on the phone and way less effective than I would like to have been. I don't believe I supported passing this ordinance. I can't remember what the vote was, but I do not support the redefinition the way that it is currently written in the past substitute ordinance, and I would like to see us reconsider this. So I support him. I don't think Councilmember Rainey was making a motion, but if she were to, I would support that as a second.
To motion to return this to staff and not implement it on January 1st. Put it before us for another work session and take another look at it. So I don't know how we need to do that.
All of 12/22/21, or, because we heard a lot of
Okay,
different
well, I know,
sections.
there's a lot on there.
We heard a lot of issues.
Can I just give one piece of information? The attorney has said that, she's been speaking to the guy in Juneau that does the online stuff. And there are maybe some other tiny tweaks that need to be done. And she thought it would be fine to, you know, come up with in the next few months, a cleanup ordinance. And if this were the will of all council to change this part, that would be part of it. And we could just not, you know, speak to the one, you know, seller of fuel in town and say, disregard that, do it the way you were doing it until we fix it.
I don't think it's just about fuel. It's a
Would you need
bigger-
more than that?
I need more than that, and I had an issue with those definitions before regarding packages and other things. I think we need to look at the whole thing. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in implementing any of it January 1st. At this point, I feel like we were ramrodded with information and I don't think we agreed to it, so I want it done. I don't want it implemented January 1st. I want to look at the whole thing again.
At this point, can't we move to reconsider 12/24
No.
on second reading? No.
12/21,
Whatever,
substitute
12/21.
12/21
Yeah.
Done.
Already done.
is already effective. It's already passed its 30 days. The second vote on that was November 6th,
Yeah, but I thought it was effective.
30 days later. Oh, I mean, it's
I thought we
passed,
put in
it's
there January
referral, but not effective until January 1st.
So what do we need to do to roll it back?
Probably have a special meeting with another ordinance.
I don't know the answer. Just hoping you guys wanted to change one thing, not
No, I don't want to change one thing.
15
There's more than one
pages,
thing on there.
30 pages.
Yeah, there's more
Miss-
than one thing.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Baylor.
Yeah, isn't it a simple fact, a simple matter? We got concurrence, the majority of council, that's just to tell staff not to implement this. I mean, that's the way I see it. And then bring it back and we'll take a look at it. But we're basically telling our employee not to put forward an ordinance that we're having second guesses on, so. Do we have support for that from the whole of council? That'd be the first question.
I think,
Can we do that?
Yeah, can't do that.
we can direct staff to,
Correct, and we'll be told no later at a different point, the lawyers get involved, and say we can't do that, I guess.
Hey, we're home rule. Of course we can do that.
yeah. Yeah, there's nothing that prohibits us from directing staff to not do that and bring this back. So do we want the ordinance as passed, brought back to council? And then we'll consider it that then?
Yes.
I think so, just passed as it was written, so that way we can all read it again and then start our conversation from there, and I would like a workshop.
Yeah, I'd like a workshop.
Okay, can we do that? Does that make sense, Sam, that we would just, you would not implement the item changes, I guess is what it is, the definitions until after it gets to be discussed further?
I mean, does it? Yes, I understand what you're saying. I do not understand because it's past its 30 days what that implies, but we will figure it out and we will send a email to council when we come up with how we exactly have to do it, if it's different than how the direction is right now. Does that make sense?
Council is to not be charging somebody that comes and buys 20,000 gallons of fuel to not be charging.
Right.
You can't.
I understand that, and we could, according to Holly, if we only removed the gallons, if we were only changing that specific thing, we could do that and the ordinance could still move forward and take that away. But it doesn't sound like to me that's exactly what you guys want to do at this point. You want to rehash the entire ordinance.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything really that it affects too much for, I'm gonna say at least a month or a couple months. I know the processors aren't gonna be gearing up with all of that stuff until halibut season, at least probably March. I think we've got a little bit of time before that, the construction projects aren't gonna be going until the snow goes away. And it hasn't even gotten here yet, so.
Yep.
Find out what we need to do. If I need to call a special meeting, I will.
Okay.
But, find out what it takes to do that and we'll schedule a workshop as soon as we can to consider that early January, it was supposed. Yes, Councilmember Rainey.
I mean, the bottom line is, I called this and put it on the table and I didn't have full understanding of it. And if that's on me, that's on me, but we need to look at it again. The intent is not there. The intent for these definitions that were put forth is gonna be onerous on this community, and I'm not gonna be responsible for that. So we need to look at it again.
It doesn't hurt to reconsider everything. That's why we have ordinances. We can go back and forth. We're the ones that make it clear.
I think along those lines, Mayor, if we're doing just kind of a haphazard modification of the existing, it feels like that's gonna be super clumsy. If there's more than one item, I think we really need to pull it back and look at everything.
Councilor Smith?
I was just gonna say, do we need to look at, I'd like to have a targeted list of what we're gonna look at so that our discussion can be more focused. I mean, I know if it's open, we take comment on everything, but I still think it would help us move through the discussion a little bit if we enumerated the things that we really feel like need to be revisited. I mean, there's some obvious ones, and there's the changes that the clerk talked about with the resellers. But yeah, I just feel like we need to make sure we have a somewhat focused discussion so
Yeah.
that we,
I can work with staff on,
Yeah.
wording that once they find out from the attorneys or whoever else
Mhm.
there. Councilor Jones?
So my heartburn, back when we were discussing it the first time and still, and I believe a lot of people's heartburn is with the definition of what a single item is. And that, you know, the smallest quantity. I would like to see that if we're making a punch list, that's, you know, enemy number one right there, so. I would like to see it be a single line item cap or something like that, maybe we can define that where. Even if you're buying 1,000 gallons of gas, it's still considered one item. And I know that is not the intent of what that ordinance was, which is why I believe I voted against it the first time, but. Yeah, so that's the main problem I had with it and continue to have with it, and if we can bring that back and redefine it, I would like to.
Okay. Councilor Kinsman?
Yeah, at this point, that's gonna be the cleanest way is to bring it forward. So, I like the idea, but yeah, that's gonna be the cleanest way, to be less clumsy. I think there's ownership on us, as council, all of us, myself included, especially myself. That's great that, Mr. Mayor, you'll work with staff, but if there's items that we see we wanna address, and you also can send those to the clerk and get those sent out.
Yep.
So this is our time to, do, I guess, what we were elected to do, and do a little homework and. Yeah, with that, it's my public comment rant. This was before everyone, not just council. So it's really unfortunate that it came to this point before this was noticed, so. But it's out there for everyone. We'll have a work session and it's gonna be put out to the public. And all of you will be welcome to attend with all of your ideas as well. We all live in the same community, so. It's unfortunate and fortunate. What is Winston Churchill? Don't never let a good crisis go to waste. Here's the crisis. And maybe we need one once a quarter, so you guys show up. So.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to direct staff to do as we discussed. That sound good?
Oh, that's the motion. Thanks for clarity.
You take your minutes, right?
To not implement.
And
Not
it's part of
To-
1221.
Right,
Yeah.
until it can be brought before staff again, through a work session.
Okay, well,
Call council.
do you guys know the date today? I mean, nothing's gonna happen within the next
Nope.
Nope,
Yeah.
month, probably.
nope.
I'm not doing anything on the 25th.
We just spent.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
I,
Hey,
Okay,
Motion to do something.
there you go.
To not implement.
council discussion of
To do nothing.
2018-2020 fisheries disaster funds received. Staff had a few suggestions there, and 98. Yes, Councilor Kim.
I would be in favor of, I mean, there's some different ideas. Thank you, Sam, for putting some ideas out there. First and foremost, I brought it up at the last meeting to return, refund, reallocate the $289,889 that we just voted last meeting to pull from the permanent fund. First and foremost, that should come out of this.
amen, brother.
That's it. I'd love to see all of it going there, but I'm open to other things. That dollar amount specifically, and you know what, if I'm gonna make a motion, if that's what's needed, I'm gonna round up and say 300,000. How about that? At the very least, should go back.
It's been moved to put 300,000 of the disaster funds back into the permanent fund.
Second.
Seconded, Councilor Kinsman, any further?
Again, I'm open for someone else to amend the motion and put the remaining, pull your calculator out and in the permanent fund as well. But
Yes.
I would make an amendment that we put the entire amount into the permanent fund. Of $628.
And I will second that.
Okay, let me get that up here. Okay, on the amendment to put it all in the permanent fund, Councilor Sherman?
We're talking about it or no?
Yeah, we should talk about
Yeah,
it.
I think he was asking me.
We're gonna
to-
talk about the amendment. She
Oh,
made the motion.
okay.
I think you were voting, yeah.
Sorry,
Um,
I thought you were taking the roll.
No, I don't.
Moving
think
on.
so.
I'm
That's-
not gonna talk before all of you. Or vote for all of you. I agree, I was sitting here listening to, former Councilman Blason, and this is a gift, and I look at it as my permanent fund dividend every year, that's a gift too, and where does it go? To savings immediately. No ifs, ands, or buts, and we should do the exact same thing with this. That's just my opinion.
Councilor Kinsman, on the amendment.
Very, very prudent, guidance. So thank you for that, Dave. And I think that, to me, what makes sense, this is, we're gonna get a better return on our investment on this principle. If we put it there, and if there is in the future a reason for us to pull it out, there's a whole process for that. But this to me seems like an opportunity to take care of future generations to some extent. Future council members to decide.
Councilmember Rainey.
I think Councilmember Jones had saying that he wants to please on.
Well, I'm going down my list.
Okay,
He gets
I
to
think
go
the whole
after
thing
you.
ought to go back in, I think we've been reactionary for too long, and we need to be proactive instead of reactive and get some stuff into the savings. I think the whole amount should go in there. And, I think that's the best benefit for the whole community. Fishermen and non-fishermen.
Hey, Councilmember Jones.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the sentiment of putting it into savings. I do not think that the permanent fund is the account we should put it in. I think we should put it in the Harbor Reserve Fund. I think that fishermen are the ones who had the disaster. If you look at this, I asked the staff to produce this report on the city's revenue. I don't see where the city had a disaster. In fact, I see where the city implemented a new 0.5% fish tax on the fishermen who had just got done with 2 disasters back to back. And then we started paying 0.5% of our income. So our stall rents have gone up, our property tax has gone up, our sales tax has gone up, started charging sales tax on internet transactions. I'm not seeing where the city had an actual disaster. Our fish tax in 2018 was $629,000 more than budgeted. Our fish tax in 2020 was $90,000 more than budgeted. If you look at 2021, it was $333,000 more than budgeted. If you look at 2019, it was $183,000 more than budgeted. And I can totally see why people want to put it in the permanent fund, because we have pulled quite a bit out of the permanent fund lately. I just think that we need to be putting this money into the Harbor Reserve Fund because it needs to benefit the people who experienced the loss of income from the disaster. And yeah, sounds like there's a lot of people who are in favor of putting it in the permanent fund. So I guess the only thing I will ask is that we go, if we're gonna do that, we'll go with the recommended item 3, which would reduce the amount of interest that the harbor is paying to the permanent fund. So if it reduces the loan balance that the harbor currently has, then I would support it. I do think that there are, earlier in this packet, we supported the state's $7.5 million transportation harbor facility grant program. I believe, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I believe that there are improvements in our harbor basin that could qualify for a tier 2 grant. We just exhausted our tier 1 grant. We only get one of those. That's our only bullet. We used it. Well, now you can get an unlimited number of tier 2. And they can be up to $5 million each, but you need to have 50-50 matching funds. So if we took this $772,000, put it into the harbor reserve, and then we sold the travel trailer for hopefully $300 to $350. We spent like $570 on it, or $470. if we can get 70 or 80% of what it's worth, we could have up to $1 million into that harbor reserve fund, and we could start going after some other improvements that the community really needs. So that's what I would like to see us do, but if everybody else wants to see us put it into the permanent fund, I can get behind that, as long as it reduces what the harbor owes. Thanks.
Councilmember Baylor.
Yeah, I got a big smile on my face with all my people on council wanting to put this back into the permanent fund. That's outstanding. And, I'll say for me, cost of tools are up, cost of lumber's way up, cost of labor's way up, cost of trucks way up. Now, I don't get any disaster money. So we're all making do with what the situations are. Put this sucker right into the permanent fund and we will get a good return. The market's going crazy. So there's where I'm at.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I might be in the minority. I definitely support putting the 300,000 in the permanent fund. I think I would rather see the balance go into the AMLIP fund because that would make it a little bit more liquid. And we have talked about how we have a cash flow shortage and it just feels like it would be good to have a little bit of a cushion, but still have it in an investment account earning returns. And I think, in response to the comments about it was the fishermen that took the hit and that's what this money is for, I think the city, I hear what you're saying about the numbers and I would have to dig into it a little bit more, but the money that would have come into the city for the raw fish tax and some of those other revenues would go into the general fund. So I think that's where it should go. And again, I think it would be good to put it into the AMLIP fund because that's a little bit more liquid, but I might be in the minority, so.
Okay, Councilor Zastro.
Yeah, I don't think we need to put this away for a rainy day. There's a lot of uncertainties going into 25. So whether we put it all in the permanent fund or not, that's a discussion. I understand the AMLIT fund actually kicks back a little better return, if I'm not mistaken. Is that true?
I don't know about better,
It's comparable.
comparable.
Okay. And then it is a little easier to get if we need it. And then if we decide later we want to put it all in the permanent fund, we can certainly do that at a later date. But I would support putting it all in the permanent fund or split between the two.
The motion is to put it all in the permanent fund. So the amendment to the motion was to put it all in the permanent fund. Been through everybody once. Again, this is just basically directing staff to bring back an ordinance to do that. So you're gonna see it 2 more times and a public hearing before anything ever happens to it. So just so you recognize that this isn't actually moving the money at this point in time.
But wait a minute, it would be, you think there has to be an ordinance to put money in?
Oh, maybe not to put money in. No, my mistake.
Yeah,
Is this purely just a direct staff?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could just direct to do it. Okay, well, then I withdraw.
Going around too, well, I need to respond to the fishermen were only hurt. I paid for 3 slips. I have one of the biggest privately owned property tax properties in this town. Few thought that it was a hit for us as well. And the money needs to go into the permanent fund because I'm here for Cordova. Your check, you can do whatever you want with. The city's money goes into the permanent.
Councilor Jones, we ever hear that?
Yeah, so, I'll support putting it in the permanent fund, but I guess I would like a little clarification from around the table on if we're gonna be reducing the 3 million to the harbor. Is it going off of the city staff's recommended item 3, or are we not reducing the harbor's permanent fund?
Currently, it's an amendment to make it the whole amount. After that passes or fails, you can make a motion to amend the original motion to include that language if you so choose. Currently, there is no additional language to the amendment that's out there. Anybody else on the amendment to put it all in the permanent fund? See no others, all those in favor of the amendment to put it all in the permanent fund, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, just one? What was your?
I voted for it.
Okay. Okay, so right now, the motion is to move all of the money into the permanent fund. Is there?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make an amendment that the amount is reduce the 3 million that the harbor owes the permanent fund.
Interest for the 3 million.
Well,
Number
the
3
harbor
is
owes,
just,
the harbor owes the permanent fund $3 million right now. We're waiting on the final MARAD disbursement. I would like to see this count towards that 3 million to reduce the amount of interest that the harbor department is being charged.
what's in number 3, Mr. Mayor? Mr. Number 3 just states to cover the interest, which is 100 to 120. If you're referencing number 3 exclusively, that's what it says.
Yeah, I guess I was referencing.
So you're not referencing. Just saying.
Number 2 sounds.
Yeah, it'd be number 2. But my intention would be that the full 3 million from MARAD would still go back into the permanent fund. Just, I want the harbor to get a little bit of a credit on their interest payment.
That's number 3.
So your motion is to pay the interest from the harbor's loan out of this?
No,
No? You wanna credit the whole 772 to the harbor's $3 million loan?
correct.
Okay, motion's been made, is there a second? I'm not seeing a second. There's some other language anybody has, or we've good to go on the main motion? Main motion is to move all of it to the permanent fund. Once. Twice, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll put that money in the permanent fund.
Was that a 7-0?
I didn't hear any objection.
Got it.
Pending agenda, CIP list, we did the CIP list already, so pending agenda, calendar, elected and appointed officials list. Ready? Are we
Not meeting.
not meeting the first? We're not meeting until when?
Charter says when it's on a holiday, you're supposed to meet the next day, a quorum can be established.
I think that's the next Wednesday of a regular meeting.
So that's January 15th this time? Okay.
Does that sound reasonable, to everybody?
Reasonable, but we just put a whole lot more work on our plate, so we gotta make it up somewhere. I agree, it's not gonna be the first, I understand. And support that. That's just something. That's gonna.
Well, I do believe that we will be getting in touch with you that something will need to be done before the first of the year, so
The
we will let you know.
staff has to have those packets together by the 8th. That is by 15th, so there's not a whole lot of time.
And my reference is even if it's not that, then, you know. We'll just wait and see what staff brings before council.
Anything else? Anybody wants to get on the agenda? Next time?
Oh, I did wanna ask, we got asked about a letter of support for a proposal, and that would have to, we would have to authorize staff to do that now, because we won't meet before the application is due.
Yeah, I meant to talk about that in my report, but yeah, there's a.
But I would say that, yes, we should concur with the mayor providing a letter of support to go with an application.
Regards to the report, it's 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, the survey,
Subsistence
subsistence survey for the report.
So is that all good?
Are we good with that? Any objection to doing that?
I'll do that. It's a form letter. I have your signature.
Great. Sounds good. Anything else anybody needs on the agenda? Give you something, let me know. Okay, brings us to audience participation. Anybody want to talk about anything, whether it was on the agenda or not? Have at it.
Hey, so Mark Chronicle, 813 Woodland Drive now. So one of these things that I would like to discuss is, this isn't about fuel. I mean, really, fuel is one of the biggest users. This is about a single item. And the single item is a kilowatt. The smallest single item may be a yard of gravel or a gallon of fuel, which is called out by the city attorney. So when we talk about this isn't about just affecting one business, it affects everybody. Everybody, building a net, building a boat, doing a construction job. Any of those things, buying groceries, if someone were to buy groceries, every grocery item is a single item. So if you buy $5,000 worth of groceries, you don't need the cap because it's a single item. So essentially, when I said at the beginning of this, that it removes the sales tax cap from almost everything in the city of Cordova, that's what it does. So it's not just fuel, it makes us less able to do business, and that's where we missed the mark in the city ordinance. So thanks for putting it back on the board, and we'll be here for the next one.
Sounds good, thank you, Mark.
Hi, Steve Richards, 103 Bluff Trail. I just wasn't sure if I was kind of clear. When I said landing fee, I was saying if the state owned the airport and they wanted to assess a landing fee, then that money would have to go back, because it's federally funded, that money would have to go back into the airport improvement fund. It would have to pay for the airport. I was using that as an example. If the city owned the airport, which it doesn't, and it can't buy it, it probably couldn't afford to buy it or maintain it, and it got federal funds, then any revenue generated off of flights from the airport would have to go back into operations and improvements of the airport. The city attorney drafted up, what I'm seeing here is transportation. Commercial flights, the sale of passenger seat tickets by commercial airline is exempt. Recreational flights are not exempt unless otherwise exempted by Alaska statute 2948A20, which excludes air carriers. Okay, I'm actually an air carrier, but the point is that it's sloppily written, because then you go over to recreational flight means any flight that takes off from Cordova and returns to Cordova without landing at any other taxing jurisdiction unless that flight is solely for emergency medical transport, military transport, government operations, or ancillary to a use otherwise exempt from the sales tax under this code. Okay, so basically it's saying we're gonna tax what, spotters, flight seeing, I don't even know what it means it's taxing. But even if it was, you can't do it. The really cool part is that the FAA's attorneys are free. You call them up and they will tell you what you can do and what you can't do. And this same law firm drafted a very lengthy, long ordinance during COVID, closing the Cordova airport to, everybody except our Amazon packages and mail and all that stuff. It's a long ordinance, probably cost the city a bunch of money, totally illegal. You had to make one phone call to the regional counsel of the FAA, and he said, nope, click, and hung up the phone. So all I'm saying is that before you look at another ordinance that taxes aviation, give the FAA a call, because 9 times out of 10, especially with the 2 airports that we have that are federally funded, you can't do it. That's it. Thanks. And I've got these here with Molly Fiero, who is part of FAA Airports. And this is just a printout of the email, but if you want the actual email on the backside, it actually has the entire revenue policy for airports receiving grants, which is pretty exciting reading. So Down, you have extra copies.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anybody else comments on anything? Doesn't have to be on the agenda. Come give us some heck.
Okay. All right, Brad Savage again, 203 Highland Drive. I appreciate you guys seeing the little bit of mix up that you might have had with that one issue. And then I like Mr. Jones's comments here. Sure, it's an easy thing just to throw that 700 whatever thousand into that. I in turn think anytime you can pay something down a little quicker is gonna benefit you as a whole later faster, regardless of what your returns are and whatever this current plan. I'm not up on that, so kind of thing. So that's the way I see it. You owe somebody money, what's the best thing to do? Pay them off faster and whatever. I also want to remind maybe people that this harbor raises a lot of money for this whole community. We've taken the brunt of a lot of things over the years. I've had the same stall for over 30 years. I don't know why the harbor didn't have the money to begin with to pay for this outright. The city keeps robbing from the harbor department to go into the general fund. I think it should be maybe a part of that goes to the city department or the city, and the harbor should have its own stake and take care of things. Then we would have never had to do this. That's what, we wouldn't have had to borrow money or get grants and all that sort of stuff. I did the math earlier. I mean, between me and my stallmate, it would have been $120,000 for the one finger that we shared. I'd have built those all day long for $120,000, and then I could retire. But it shouldn't have been as costly as it was. So if they had to borrow, should help them pay that down. It did. Catch where I was going with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Anybody else? Once.
Chris Bowen, 607 Burr Street. First and foremost, I'm coming here as a citizen of Cordova, taxpayer, and a dad. And I believe that as a father, one of the most important things you're to do is to show your children what you stand up for. And while I appreciate what you guys do up here, I also do want to remind you that you guys do work for the public. And your comments, Councilman Jones, on Facebook, about city employees and I couldn't find them anymore because I believe they were deleted. But our bloated salaries or whatever was commented on and about our benefits and stuff. The council was involved, and as far as I know, I've been involved with 6 different negotiations as a shop steward for the IBW. The council is involved very heavily in negotiations for the CBA contract. And so if you don't like it, then I mean, it should be done at council level during that. And I don't believe that making those comments does any good for the people, the community, and the people that work for the city. The discussion along many community members that work for the city in the past few days, the morale that those comments make to the city workers is just detrimental. We work really hard
even though some, may not believe that. I still care. I've been acting city superintendent, street superintendent for 6 months. Because we didn't have one single person apply for the position. It took 6 months to hire someone, and it took, I believe, 8 or 9 months to hire before that. So I just want to remind you guys that your comments can be very, very distraught to the whole employee pool for the city. And then, also those comments can have repercussions, because, as many of you know, there have been recalls for city councilmen, so I just don't want to see it have to go that far, so I just wanted to remind you, Kathy, that those
We're not,
things.
we don't need to get personal with any names or anything. You can make comments.
Sorry, Councilman Jones, I just wanted to remind him that those comments can be very detrimental to everybody, so. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any comments? Okay, council comments. We're starting off with Tom Baylor.
All right, well, thank you. One more aspect on this whole tax cap thing, I think we need to realize is the public really didn't have an opportunity to comment on this because they, like some of us, didn't really understand it. And I know Mr. Frownap was there for almost every meeting, and I'm sure he'd have been chirping at that chair had he realized that every gallon of gas is going to get taxed. And I'm sure Mr. Bannon would have been there if he thought every yard of gravel was going to get taxed. So that's also a component. And to be truthful, I didn't understand it. I'm not even sure why we went down this road. I mean, I know why we went down it, but it seemed like it took a wrong turn. I mean, I've been using this tax cap to build houses in this community for 30 years, and it was always a single invoice, and it worked great, and you got a lot of value in the community out of that. Excuse me. And I was one of the few businesses that got audited by the city years ago, and they said, yeah, you're doing everything right. So I'd like to see us maybe get back to that. And then, yeah, the city budget is up there, but look, I've kind of made a list of some things, and maybe I left some stuff out, but we have a pool, we have 3 gyms, we have a ski hill, we have a Chamber of Commerce department, we have a theater, a library, museum, multiple parks and ball fields, we have a camper park. Now, those are just some of the accessory things that, we have. And then you have your water and sewer department, your garbage, your street maintenance, your building maintenance, and you have all your staff that has to do the billing and all of that. It takes a lot to run this community, and this community seems to want a lot, like those first items that I listed off: pools, gyms, ski hill, chamber. We got to pay for those things. And if we want to get serious about it with the community and ourselves, we need to talk about it and see where we can make cuts, or we have to simply keep raising taxes. That's the bottom line. We can't depend on fishing up years and bad years. It doesn't work that way. So I think future council has a lot of work ahead of them. And thanks everybody for putting that money in the permanent fund. That was the right move. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rainey. I'm just going off this.
I appreciate that bringing that back is gonna be difficult, but I think, we need to do our due diligence, and that was not my intent moving forward. We received a lot of memos from the lawyer, and I felt inundated with a lot of information, and I should have spoken up sooner, and I feel that, and I shouldn't have agreed with it, so I'd like to fix my error and bring it back and do right by it. I appreciate everybody coming in tonight. Would certainly love to see chairs full more often, makes for a much more exciting meeting. I'm kind of sick of Fernapple, but everybody else, I'd like to see them come in, but,
Yeah.
But yeah, I do appreciate that this is a lot of work for staff, but I think it's important for us not to put this on the community. Thanks for being online, Tom. I hope you still text at me later. even when you're not on council. I appreciate that. And, I appreciate, council members' input this evening.
Thank you, Councilor Smith.
Yeah, I'm not, a ton I can add. I think Councilmember Baylor gave a good overview. Obviously, there's a lot of confusion over the code and I think we're doing the right thing by reading it. So. Thanks.
Hey, Councilor Sherman.
I'm tired and, I got another year to go. I'm just gonna end on a happy note. I'm glad to be back in town. I wish everybody happy holidays, and I think the town looks quite festive and lovely, with all the lights, and I appreciate everything everybody does to make the holidays bright during this dark period of time. So I'm gonna end on a happy note.
Thank
For
you.
2024.
Councilor Jones.
Stand by my comments that the city didn't experience a disaster. The fishermen did. I also stand by my comments that the reason why we have to raise taxes every year is because salaries and wages have gone up. And it's gonna continue to do so. Every time you get a conservative on here, they get recalled. So, you know what, I got 3 months left. I would love to see that burden placed on staff. If I invite it. So, thanks.
Councilor Zastro.
Yeah, not a lot more to add to what Councilmember Rainey and Baylor and Smith has brought forward. I also love seeing that moving goal. It's fantastic. We've often, when there's nobody in the room. And so that's really where we get our direction is from the public and from you being here to provide us what you see is going on and help us make good decisions. And appreciate the council and everybody's conversations, and it's great having Tom for a little bit left we have him, and yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Kinsman.
Yes, I guess you guys all knew this would be my Christmas wish, to have someone in the audience that I talk about all the time, so thank you for making my Christmas come true. Appreciate it, thanks for coming out, in all honesty, I know I said a few things, but I did want to actually do one kind of shout out to a business, and that was Peterson Welding. I went back and looked at our notes when this first came through. Peterson Welding was the only one who showed up and had questions about what was before it on lump cells and how it affected them. So thank you for coming forward. Grateful to see everyone now and look forward to more people showing up to the work session. There's seats open for council. And now we just, there's no seat designation, it's just open seating. If you want to do it, you can, whoever gets the most votes and goes on down. And we just heard from the mayor that he's not gonna run, so we have a mayor position open. So that is all I have. Happy holidays to everyone and see everyone next year.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate everybody coming out, providing the information that you have to us. I appreciate council's willingness to reconsider. I apologize to staff that we maybe didn't do a complete job the last time around, but our willingness to review that in the best interest of the community, I think is an important thing to have. So thank you, everyone, for coming out and listening to us, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody up here and all of our staff. We appreciate the work that you do. And thanks, Tom, for being online once again, and enjoy your holidays wherever you're at, and we'll see you next time around. So I don't think we've got an executive session, correct? No. So there being no further business, we will adjourn the meeting.
Merry Christmas.